How's it going, guys? Ben here with iTechTriad, and today we're going to be looking at the Verizon LG G3. Now, I've been using this phone for about a month, and I thought it'd be time to give you guys my thoughts on the phone. I wanted to bring this review just a bit earlier, but I haven't had time to get all the video content together. Nonetheless, it's finally here, so let's go ahead and start talking about the LG G3 and whether or not you should buy it. So before we get started, I just want to mention that I have been using this on Verizon Wireless for about a month, and I'm coming from the LG G2, so largely this review is going to involve a lot of comparisons to the G2. Also, I do want to mention that we are going to have a small giveaway at the end of this video, so make sure to stay tuned the entire time so that way you can catch and enter into that giveaway. Okay, so let's first talk about the specs on the LG G3. We're looking at a 5.5-inch Quad HD IPS display, or 2560 by 1440, a quad-core Snapdragon 801 processor, Adreno 330 GPU, 32 gigabytes of internal storage expandable via microSD card up to 128 gigs, 3 gigabytes of RAM, Android 4.4.2 KitKat with LG's own skin on board, a 13 megapixel optically image stabilized camera, and 2.1 megapixel front-facing camera, along with a 33,000 milliamp hour removable battery inside. So we'll talk about how all those combine to create a great hardware and software experience as the review goes on. Alright, so next let's talk about the display, and that's really the big story with the G3, is it's got the first widely available Quad HD display on a flagship smartphone. Now yes, I am aware that the Oppo Find 7 and a couple other phones currently do have Quad HD displays, but the LG G3 is available worldwide, while the Oppo Find 7 is a little hard to get in the many markets. That said, the G3's display is great. It is a little on the warm side, which you might not notice depending on your brightness level. In this video, I'm generally hovering around 80 to 100%, so you're probably not going to notice it. If you're running out of battery or something and you want to lower your display brightness to, say, 50, 30, 40%, you're probably going to notice it just a bit more, especially on a white background. That said, though, this display just absolutely looks great. It actually looks like they printed it on rather than it's an actual display built into the phone. And that's pretty interesting considering the fact that a while back someone said you can't notice anything above a certain pixel density. And if I'm not wrong, that was around 400 pixels per inch. LG has kind of proved that wrong. They've put 538 pixels per inch into the G3's display. And that's because of that 2560 by 1440 resolution on a 5.5-inch display. Do the math, and that's a lot of pixels on this display. The only effect that I think that really has is two things. One, you can't really take advantage of it yet. There's very little content, even videos and pictures, that take advantage of all that resolution. Games, apps are not going to take advantage of it. Sometimes you'll have an icon on your home screen that you've downloaded from an app, and it's going to look a little blurry or just not as crisp as some of the other ones, such as the stock apps do. However, LG did put a couple of videos on board with the G3, which unfortunately you cannot delete if you wanted to, that take advantage of all that resolution, and I'm going to be playing a couple here on screen, and they just look amazing, and that's where you really notice a difference, when the content is optimized for the display. Alright, so next let's talk just a little bit about the hardware. Basically, this is not really out of the ordinary. It feels great, it looks great, it's a lot better than last year, but it's still plastic. Now, in my opinion, that's not a bad thing. I do like plastic phones. I like metal phones too, but I like the advantage plastic gives you, and it gives you better radios, and it's cheaper to build, and it's also, you don't make many sacrifices with scratches and stuff like that. I have heard the G3 has the tendency to scratch, but I didn't have that problem. Of course, the G3 does look like metal, which is a huge plus to me. I love the way metal looks, I just don't like the functionality. So the G3 kind of had a combination of the two. If you do have the black or gold models, it looks a lot more like metal. The white version that I have doesn't quite look that same way. There's one thing I would definitely want to give LG, or two things I really want to give LG a huge plus on the front of the hardware, and that's the bezels. They're really thin, which makes the 5.5-inch display manageable. Also, they're black. One thing I always hated about white phones was that the white came up on the top and went around the display. When you turn off the display, I really don't like the way that looks. So I never got white phones. When I saw the G3 for the first time and I saw the black bezels on the white model, I was pretty much committed to getting a white model of the phone, and I did. So I got to give huge props to LG for that. I really want to see this on more phones. It's been on Nexus phones, and I'm not trying to sound like a Nexus fanboy, but that's just the fact. I love the way that looks. All of that said, the hardware on the G3 is absolutely great. It's going to rival pretty much everything on the market, unless you like a metal build, or if you want waterproofing, such as the Xperia Z2 and the Galaxy S5. But anything else out there is going to... The G3 just kind of... To me, the G3 is kind of a combination of everything else out there. It has the look and close to the feel of hand of the HTC One M8, but it also has the functionality of the removable back cover and the better radio support of the Galaxy S5. And I think that's a huge plus and a huge win for the G3. Next, let's talk software. Now, the LG G3 is running Android 4.4.2 KitKat out of the box, and it's running it with LG's own custom skin and custom apps. Now, not everyone's a fan of LG skin. I don't love it, but I definitely have no problem using it. Everything is pretty well thought out and easy to use. The design isn't the greatest, but it definitely doesn't look bad at all, and that's pretty much the definition of LG skin. It's not great, but it's not bad. And that's not really a bad thing. I kind of like LG's skin. It's very functional. It has a lot of extra features in it. The only thing I really don't like about it is how much storage space it takes up. I have the 32 gig model, which is the only model you can get in the US. And on that model, about 8 gigabytes were taken up, as I had about 24 left for me to use when I got the phone out of the box. Of course, some of that is Verizon's own bloatware. Some of that is Google's own apps. But a lot of it is taken up by LG's software customizations, and a lot of it isn't necessary, but I found myself using quite a bit of it. Their messaging app is pretty good, except it doesn't work with Android Wear, which I really don't understand, but whatever. The dialer is great. I love that everything is the contacts app and the recent calls and all that is kind of combined into that one space, which it looks and feels great. The camera app is great. I really have no complaints about LG's apps. They are all flat and well designed and well thought out, and it's definitely one of the better skins out there. I still prefer stock Android, but LG skin is definitely not bad. Okay, so next let's talk about the camera on the LG G3. Now, the G3 has a 13 megapixel camera with OIS+. What is OIS+? OIS stands for Optical Image Stabilization, and the LG G3 implements it in two ways, in the hardware and in the software. So what that means to you is basically you're going to have a better viewfinder experience. So if you're zoomed in, the camera's not going to be as shaky, and video output is also going to look great. Now, I'm going to be putting up a few images here on screen and then a 1080p video clip. Now, the G3 is also capable of 720p slow motion at 120 frames per second, as well as 4K video resolution. The reason I'm not going to show you any 4K is because I can't really take advantage of it because the entire video is not shot in 4K. So we're going to play those couple clips, and then I'm going to show you another cool feature of the G3's camera. Now, on the back of the G3, obviously you have those three buttons, the power, volume, and the power and the volume keys. Above that is the camera module. On one side of it, there is a dual tone LED flash. On the other side, a lot of people were kind of wondering what that was, and that is a laser autofocus. Yes, it's an actual laser. Basically, what that does is it cuts down tremendously on autofocus times. Now, I'm going to show you here. I have 3 different objects on screen, and all of them are at different lengths or distances from the G3. So I'm going to show you just how quickly autofocus happens on the G3's camera. And then the last thing is the front-facing camera. I don't use it very much, but here's a quick demo. It works, it's fine. I'm not going to show you any selfies because I don't take them. But it does have a cool feature. If you're into that, you can actually hold up your hand in the shot and close it to start a 3-second countdown timer to take a picture. Okay, so we've pretty much covered everything. But the last thing I want to talk about, at least during this video, is the speaker. Now the speaker is on the back, but a lot of people don't usually pay attention to speakers on phones when they do reviews unless it's the HTC One. Mainly because the HTC One has front-facing speakers and everyone's in love with them, and I am too. But there's one thing about the G3 that I love, and that is a very, very loud and very, very crisp speaker. It's not very tinny, and it's extremely loud. When I first got the phone, I was absolutely amazed at how loud it was. I took it outside, I put a song on full volume, and I was probably 200 or 300 feet away, and I could still hear it. So I'm impressed with the G3 speaker. I'm going to give you guys a quick demo. I'm going to play a song. I'm going to start it off on a low volume and then turn it up to the highest volume. So you may want to have the volume control for your TV or phone or whatever you're doing nearby. So pretty loud, huh? And you can tell how much of a nerd I am. But that said, again, the G3, it's a great phone. I think you would really like it if you pick it up. In the US, it's priced at $200 with a 2-year contract, and that's for the 32 gig and 32 gigabytes of storage and 3 gigabytes of RAM version. Internationally, you have 2 variants, the 16 and 2 gig of RAM and the 32 and 3 gigs of RAM. And they will be priced according to your region. I'll leave links below to a few of them. But you're definitely going to want to check out the first link because that's got the written review. And that's got everything that I didn't cover in this review, including more pictures so you can see just how good the camera is. And I'll even throw in a 4K video sample. So that's going to do it for the video review. Now let's talk about that giveaway. Now, of course, I can't give away the phone. We're not making enough money for that. So you go subscribe so you can help us with that. But first, what we're going to do is we're going to give away a choice of either a anti-glare screen protector or a gloss screen protector from Exceed. Now, we've worked with Exceed in the past and given away a Moto X screen protector, and we're going to do the same basic thing here, except we're going to choose 2 winners. And just go in the description, you'll find a link to the giveaway page with all the rules. And the other thing we're going to be giving away is a case. Now, that's probably going to be a Cruiser Light case. I haven't quite decided yet. But we'll probably give away a Cruiser Light case. Cruiser Light was nice enough to send one of these out for us. So we're going to go ahead and give it to you guys. So all that information will be down in the description on a separate page. Again, make sure to check out the written review, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Leave a comment with any questions you have about the G3 and we'll do our best to answer them. Thanks for watching this video and we'll catch you in the next one. So one quick note, after filming this entire video, footage, audio, and everything, I realized one thing. I never told you anything about the battery life. Now, while I did talk about that a little bit in the written review, for those of you who are not going to go read that, basically battery life is good. You can get through a day if you're not an extremely heavy user. Since that Quad HD display takes up a lot of power, battery life is not as great as you would expect, even though it has that 3000 milliamp hour battery. The first couple days it's going to be absolutely terrible. After that it gets a little bit better, and then 2 or 3 weeks down the road it gets about halfway point between where it was at the beginning and where it was a few days after you got it. But basically, as long as you're not gaming or watching video, you'll get about 15 hours of use and about 3 hours of on-screen time, or at least that's what my experience was. That's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'm sorry I left that out at the beginning. If you have any other questions, please leave a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.